YouTube found community Beach Boys fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we're here today for a review of the brand new Disney Plus documentary, The Beach Boys. In the last few years, the Beach Boys have had a total 180 in terms of promotion, awareness, coolness. For a band as huge as they were and continue to be, they were kind of lost in the shuffle of bands just on the radio or existing and being slightly taken advantage of. Here we are in 2024, and in the last few years, they've had several physical box sets about eras of their life that were previously completely forgotten or overlooked. We have this humongous book from Genesis Publications. We have all these new t-shirts and different releases and this and that. Social media team that does an amazing job keeping them relevant online. And now, a new documentary. Right off the bat, this documentary serves as basically a fresh start. It is like, hey, we got this new management behind us. We're doing the best we can to promote the band, kind of starting from square one each time, and understanding that there's always going to be new fans. I know for me, looking back when I was a kid, when Endless Harmony was out, or even an American Band, those movies were what got me into the group and down the rabbit hole of what else there was to discover, let alone their music, but just reading about them and watching anything I could. And with this documentary, I feel like this is that for the new generation. It's been 25 years since Endless Harmony came out. And so it's been time to do something new. But this really does a great job of kind of catching up the Beach Boys to 2024 and making them current. For hardcore fans expecting some sort of massive deep dive, that won't be here. And, we know what that entails. You need a Beatles anthology-esque production to do something like that, which could be done and would be watched by many, many fans, myself included. Look, this movie could be 43 hours long, and we'd sit there going, wow, 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 the entire time, because as Beach Boys fans, and once you get as deep into the fandom and the lore and the mythology and the story of these guys, as a lot of us are, a lot of people are going to come away from this documentary feeling like, what was that? Like, I learned nothing, I didn't see anything new, etc., but it's not really made for you to discover something new if you've already been here since day one or just a long time in general. This documentary serves as a starting point for new fans. The movie opens up as it should by describing the characters and how they met, whether or not they were family or friends or neighbors or who and what and where, the musical influences they got into or discovered from each other, singing together, playing sports together, horsing around together, getting in trouble together, kids being kids. From there, the story continues as we've heard a million times. They get the instruments, they jam, they realize, hey, we're pretty good. They show off to their families, hey, you guys are pretty good. The long story short, they get to the recording studio, they make albums, Brian's in and out of the touring group, Al comes back after leaving to go back to college, etc., etc. We know the story. But here's the thing. Some people don't know the story. And if you're a casual fan, this would be really cool to discover. You can watch this movie and be like, wow, I didn't know any of that stuff. Or, hey, that's cool. Like, oh, these guys are still around. That's cool to hear their stories with a fresh perspective now. The movie hangs heavily in the 60s and the early 70s because, let's face it, that was their heyday, okay? That's what their peak was. They were on the charts. They were doing this. They were doing that. They were on top of the world. That was their heyday. Since the 70s and early 80s, they have been basically an oldies act. And there's nothing wrong with that. People want to hear this music because it's good music and it's going to be around forever. And we've got the guys still touring and still making music to keep the summer alive. And I love that. So where this documentary, a lot of people would say falls short, is it basically gets up to Endless Summer and then nothing happens for 50 years. And then they broke up at one point and then they got back together at the beach in September 23. So yeah, obviously about 50 years were skipped, including like the reunion era in 2012, anything that happened in the 90s. It glosses over Carl and Denny passing away. But because of that, you get a really concentrated set of stories and memories from the early days. And for a lot of people, that's what they want to know. They want to know how their favorite songs were made. They want to know what the group was like in 1966. They want to know what happened, during the Endless Summer era where they bought that record in high school. Like, they want to hear things that they're familiar with. They might not want to know all the dirty details, all crappy lawsuits and the ups and downs of the infighting. They might not want to see that just yet. Some people do. Some people want to see the dirty laundry aired out and go from there. But some people just want the story on the surface level for what it is, explaining how things were done. The great thing about this documentary is that there are new interviews. You know, Mike, Al, David, Blondie, like they're all here talking about the band now in 2023 about things that happened over the last 60 years. How do you sum up 60 years in an hour and a half? You don't. So that's what they do. They talk about things in highlights and talk about the cool things that happen, definitely some of the bad things that happen as well. They don't skip everything, but yeah, do they skip 50 years of material? Absolutely. They skip over Kokomo. I mean, they skip over Full House and all that stuff in the 90s. There's a lot of subjective stuff when you put a documentary together about what angle you want to present, what story you want to tell. So look, if you're a hardcore fan, you'll love watching this for the new interviews. There's some great home movies that have never been seen before, some great live clips that are pretty seldomly seen, I would say. Is there a lot of stuff that we've seen before? Absolutely. There's a lot that we've seen before. Is there a lot of new stuff that we haven't seen before? Yep, that's all there. And that's what's important. So if you're a new fan, you're getting into the Beach Boys for the first time, and let's remember, that's what's important. Having new people discover this band and keep that dream alive for the next generation and the next generation. So it just keeps going on and on. If you only target your hardcore fans, you're alienating casual fans who will become hardcore fans. That's sort of a weird thing with marketing. You want to encompass something for everybody, but you also want to give current fans something new. So for the hardcore fans, you will still like this. And like I said in one of my posts online, good art begs you to come back for more. It leaves you wanting more. And that's exactly what this movie does. I'm not going to spoil the ending if you haven't seen it yet, but let me just say, the ending was built up a lot in the press. And it was my most excited moment. I was so stoked for the ending. And the ending comes and goes very quickly. And I was left a little bummed at that at first. And the more I've thought about it, because we've read so much about what this ending was and what they did and et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, but here's my takeaway from the ending. We're not supposed to see that stuff. Okay? The Beach Boys have given us literally their entire lives, everything on display. Good stuff, bad stuff, great songs, bad songs. They've given us so much. So for us to get a little taste of what that reunion was like, or could have been like, or whatever, we're treated to that, okay? We're not supposed to know everything. It was a really special, endearing moment that it's cool for us to see it from the outside. We don't have to be inside that moment. That was for them. That was for them. If that ever does get released as like a bonus material kind of thing, or if we get to hear any of the music they sang that day as like a special download or a record store day release record or whatever the case might be, so be it, and we'll go from there. But I really think I don't want to use the word annoying, but like that build up for that final scene was like intense. But watching that little brief bit that we did see was very special, and maybe that's what we're only supposed to see, and they were supposed to enjoy that moment for them. When you have just those guys hanging out together, nobody else surrounding them, just those guys chilling, they have a great time. They have fun. They can talk. They can reminisce. They can sing. Because when the pressure's off and, the lights are away, it just comes down to brothers, friends, and cousins making something very special, whether it's for themselves or for hundreds of millions of fans over the last 60-odd years. The Beach Boys have given us a body of work that will stand the test of time and be here long after we're all gone. And this documentary helps reestablish that magic that has always been there, but it's brought up to date for a new generation to discover, and that's what matters. So for a lot of the hardcore fans who are angry at this thing, think about the kids coming in, checking this out for the first time, buying their first copy of Pet Sounds, and learning how to play the piano and going off and starting the next wave of the greatest music ever made. Think about that. That's why I'm looking at it. I had a lot of fun watching this thing. I got to see the premiere in New York City. I got invited from the Beach Boys team. It was an extremely special night with a lot of cool people. And being there and watching it reminds you how special this group is and how much they're a core part of our lives, our daily existence, our soundtrack. I've been a Beach Boys fan since I was 4 or 5 years old. Like my entire life, I've been a Beach Boys fan. They're ingrained in my DNA. When you watch those guys on the big screen, you feel something for them, I don't know those people personally, but you feel something because their music connects with you. And that documentary does an amazing job of doing that. It creates that feeling. And when you feel something, that doesn't go away. You remember it, and you learn from it, and you go forward with it. And that's what this movie is. It's a feel. And they do a great job with it. So to wrap up my thoughts on this thing, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it. They presented it really well. It was a very fun, fluid watch. The animations that they provided, the editing style, the storytelling vibe, everybody got a great amount of time on screen. It worked really well. It flowed really well. Everybody was stoked on each other. There was no fighting or BS or garbage. It was just like, here's the cool things that happen, a couple of bad things, which they all agree on some of the bad things that happen. And it just kind of goes from there. It leaves you wanting more, but as a fan, you're always going to want more. Doesn't matter what it is. You're afraid of chocolate chip cookies or a good movie or a good book or a movie about your favorite band. You're going to want more. That's just the nature of the beast. So go into it optimistically. Go into it just to enjoy it. Don't expect anything other than just, I can't wait to watch my favorite band talk about their legacy of 60 plus years. I'm proud of these guys. And, I'm proud of the iconic team for putting all this together. I'm proud of them for reimagining the Beach Boys image and keeping them relevant and putting out cool new things that we can go buy and discover and share with our friends. I could take out the Sail on Sailor box set. I can show off that really cool Sounds of Summer box set that got reissued a couple years ago. We can go to the movie and see this. We can look at the brand new book. None of this stuff existed before 2019. This just wasn't a possibility. So the direction they're going now is exactly what should be happening, and I couldn't be more stoked for what comes next. So obviously it's a 10 out of 10 for me on this movie. I see it for what it is. It's a jumping point. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if I was a little kid getting into the Beach Boys now, this is a great place to start. It really is. The other movies I would say definitely had an angle as well, and they kind of focused on some of the heavier, harder, dirtier stuff that existed in their storyline, but you'll get to that point. As you discover more about the Beach Boys, you'll get there. So anyways, long-winded review over. 10 out of 10. I freaking love it. It's the Beach Boys, man. Come on. Surf's up. My name is Giggens. This has been a review of the Beach Boys' brand new documentary on Disney+. Check it out. It's streaming right now. And Beach Boys, if you do watch this, thank you. Just thank you. You've done more for my life than you guys will ever know. And for millions upon millions of other people out there, your music has been there for the good times, the bad times. It's got me through everything in my life. And watching this movie reminded me of all of those feelings. It's a trip, man. It's a trip. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the documentary below. We'll chat about it. Really curious to hear what you gotta say. Thanks for watching. My name is Giggens. It's been the Beach Boys. Keeping the summer alive, man. See ya.